Everybody likes to go out to eat, but as we say, do you ever think about what's happening behind the kitchen doors? Well, that's what we explore on this show here today. And today we're going to take on some even bigger topics here. We're going to talk about food across the board here in Orange County, from one end of the spectrum to the other, with the man who knows a little bit about the subject here, Chef Pascal. Welcome back,
Paul,
sir.
thank you. Good to be here with some great guests. You want to introduce the guests? Or
You've got to, let's let them introduce themselves, because I'm afraid I'm going to say their names wrong here,
All
and
right.
everybody would be mad.
So-
We'll start with Claudia. Who's Claudia?
Claudia, well, we have two great guests today, and I'm very excited to share the connections and share what they do for Orange County. And so first we have Claudia Keller,
Yes.
and she's the CEO of a Second Harvest Food Bank of Orange County.
Which I learned is what, you're like the third or fourth biggest, you're one of the biggest charities in Orange County, right?
We're the 9th largest charity by volume in the county.
Yeah,
Yeah,
huge.
that's wonderful. And in Orange County, it's amazing that it's kind of hard to think that you are needed. But we can talk about
Right,
that.
we wouldn't expect it here.
Yeah.
And just to make clear, this is a food bank, so you do what? You supply food to
Well, yeah, we go.
We'll get into
we
it.
go
All
to
right,
that.
all right, okay.
And then our other guest today is Yassmin Sarmadi, and she also is on the board of the food bank, and she's a partner owner of Knife Pleat, top restaurant in Orange County, Michelin star rated, and her and her husband Tony are doing a fantastic job at right there on the top of the South Coast Plaza, on the top floor, and a place to go for sure. Yeah.
Merci, chef.
All right. So first, let's start to introduce a food bank. Our Second Harvest. Claudia, can you give me a little bit of the story?
Sure. So Second Harvest Food Bank has served the county for over 40 years. We are a large regional food bank, and we work through a network of over 250 partner pantries and distribution points. And those distribution points can be schools, houses of worship, soup kitchens, and nonprofit organizations that actually distribute the food to folks experiencing food insecurity.
But now also, on a regular basis, you also bring food to some community educational place.
So we provide food that we source through many different ways to organizations that do things like community education. So the scope of our network really runs the gamut, but we source and distribute food. That's all we do.
I like when you say pantry. So can you describe what a pantry is?
Sure. A lot of people ask me, a pantry in relation to a food bank, it's really a matter of scale, and it's a matter of specialization. Our specialization is sourcing food, warehousing it for a short period of time, and distributing it across the county. A pantry is normally a smaller organization that is working to provide food in a specific community or region of the county. So they're normally smaller, and we have a partnership with over 250 of them in this county.
Fantastic.
Including some pantries like at UCI and Cal State Fullerton. That was a surprise to me. We went and visited your facility. I didn't know that kids on campus are food insecure.
Yeah, and especially because they are community education places, and so you are a big part of that. But one thing we need to, because our audience may not understand, why do we have a Michelin star restaurant owner here next to you?
Seems like it's two ends of the spectrum here, right?
No, yeah, but no, there's really more connection than we think. You want to answer that?
Well, Claudia, maybe you tell the story of how we met.
Sure. So we have a farm, which is a whole different story, but we have upwards of 25 acres over at the research station in Irvine, the University of California, where we grow a lot of our own food here. And to raise awareness about that farm and our mission, we often will do stories, media stories. And we had a great idea of having Chef Tony come with Yassmin and do a cooking demonstration on site at the farm. So that is how we met, through our PR agency, Reveille. And I often tell the story, you know, we had the hot plate and we had everything there, and Chef Tony was making a wonderful a soup, cabbage soup, and I was standing there with Yassmin and Chef Tony, and we were asked to talk about the mission, and I heard Yassmin talk about the mission on air, and I thought, why am I even here? She gets it more than I do. The importance of good, wholesome food and the importance of making it accessible to everyone. So right away, I knew she would be a wonderful partner in this mission.
So, what's your involvement now as on the board?
So Claudia kindly reached out and asked, gave me a tour with one of the other board members of the facility, and Tony and I were just blown away. You know, I had an idea certainly of what food banks provide, but I had no idea the scale at which Second Harvest Food Bank was helping the community, and quite frankly, I had no idea that of the need that existed within the community. I think so many people look at Orange County and they think about businesses like ours, a fine dining restaurant that's attended by, you know, very well-to-do, beautifully dressed people, and we forget about all the other people who live in this community who have a great need for food. And so having that awareness brought to the forefront for me was just very important. And after the tour, we sat down and talked, and Claudia asked if I would like to join the board, and I was absolutely thrilled.
I would say there's actually something in common also, because when I talked to Claudia when we did the tour, and I know our Michelin star restaurant is chef are really dedicated to the top quality ingredients. Now, in your facility, you can see some fresh harvest produce and vegetables. So it's not shocking, but it's really pleasant to see. And then, so Chef Tony is the same thing. He wants the more local produce, the freshest one. So there is a little connection as well, you know. And I saw, you know, you must have some great gardeners, because I saw hundreds of pounds of produce and cases of cauliflower and onions. It's amazing.
If I may say, that's one of the things that struck me when we were on the farm. We were on this farm that is harvested with produce that then goes to the food bank. So Tony had created a recipe with cabbage, which is what they were growing at the moment. And he created a very simple, not what we would create in the kitchen with staff, but something somebody could create simply at home for people who are utilizing the food bank and things they may have access to. He created this recipe for cabbage soup. It was in the fall, so it was, you know,
That's a very
perfect.
good point, because you gave people who want fresh food, but do they know what to do with it?
Exactly.
So the fact that he gave a recipe and demonstrate recipe, that's beautiful.
It was, and I was very heartened to see, as you say, Chef, it's not surprising to think that a Michelin-starred restaurant would use the best quality ingredients available to us. But it was incredibly heartening for me to know that there's a food bank that wasn't using just things that were packaged and left over. That there was a food bank that was focusing on nutrition and not just giving people things to eat, but giving people food that is nutritious and balanced and helps them to thrive. And so it was really a wonderful synergy.
To follow this, and we talk about it, I ask you, you are concerned also of not giving processed food, and food that's actually not really good for people's health. You know, they cannot eat can of beans every day. You cannot eat a processed sugary spread and things like that. So on snacks. So you have a team that kind of control that. Huh?
Yeah, we have a sourcing team that is responsible for bringing food into the food bank from all different streams, whether it's the farm, it's purchased, it's donated. And so we believe that providing good food, good fresh food, and of course that's produce, but it's also eggs and milk and lean protein as part of a balanced diet. That's really important for two reasons. We know that the people that we serve often have the worst health outcomes because of their economic situation in this county. So it is incumbent on us not to make that worse, but to help make it better. The other part is the dignity of food. We believe that everyone, as a human being, should receive their food in a dignified manner. And we can think of no better way than to grow it with care and intentionality, like we do at Harvest Solutions Farm.
Yes, and it's very important also. When you go through the warehouse, it's like a restaurant. You have a tag when you got it, when it was harvested, and when need to be distributed. And we do that in the kitchen. The working cooler, you have to put all this information. And so for me, it's another similar system that you cannot just store food and fresh food and not take care of it. And so there's a rotation, there's an inventory they need to move. So that said, I want to mention that you have a lot of volunteers also working there. How many volunteers do you have?
So I think last year we were the #1 volunteer destination in Orange County, over 16,000 volunteers, looking at my marketing director. And those volunteers come from all walks of life, and to them, it's a great way to give back. It's a nice thing to do. For us, it's a must-have because they help us process and move the food. So we are so thankful to all of our volunteers.
That's wonderful. So, but the farm is exclusively producing for the distribution?
So our 25 to 40 acres is exclusively producing for us, but we are on a larger facility, which is about 200 acres, which is the University of California's research station.
Talking about volunteers, could you use more volunteers?
We can always use more volunteers. Everybody likes to volunteer at the end of the year, but come January and springtime, we can certainly use more hands, not only in the distribution center, but at the farm as well.
Oh, good. That's, I'm sure a lot of volunteers love to be part of that. And, if you don't mind to go down to the ground, it's really rejoicing to be doing that type of thing. So the thing is, you go produce, you store food that being brought to you by logistic transportation from a grocer or from...
So our food comes to us in many ways. It is donated and comes to us on trucks. Sometimes we go to warehouses and pick it up. We obviously bring the food from our own farm on our own vehicles. And we have a legion of volunteers and pantry volunteers that pick up excess groceries, not leftover, not expired, but leftover groceries from hundreds of retail grocers here in this county. So that's another food source for us.
That's wonderful. Talking about that grocery, and I learned that you receive funding sometimes when we pay at the cash register, we round up this little thing,
Yes.
50 cents, 25 cents, and all that goes to a fund, and then the fund is redistributed to food bank. Correct?
Yes, that is one of the great services provided to us by Feeding America, of which we are a member. Those national roundup campaigns afford food banks like us to take advantage of the generosity of the public. all the money goes back to Feeding America and they redistribute it out by zip code. So we get all the funding that is raised here by the various retail chains in Orange County throughout the year.
That's the meaning. I will think twice next time I say no. And I say, oh no, maybe I can be part of your support
Thank
as
you,
well.
Chef.
Yes, very important.
Imagine what a difference it makes if everybody rounds up a few cents.
Yeah, yeah. And you don't feel it.
That's right.
Fortunately, we don't
That's right.
feel it. And so you actually you feel better probably after. So,
It's actually been proven that volunteering, making donations, and doing things for others not only have emotional benefits, but it has health benefits
yeah,
for
yes,
people.
totally. So you must be very healthy too.
Oh yeah, I'm going to live forever at this point.
Can I jump in and ask a question? Because I was shocked by the size of the need. How many people, give us some numbers. How much food do you distribute to how many people?
So this year we're on track to match, if not better, what we distributed last year, and that's about 42 million pounds of food into the county.
Wow.
Right now, and I think this statistic is low, but they're the newest statistics that we have, and that's that 369,000 of our fellow Orange County residents will experience food insecurity this year. That's about 1 in 9 adults, and shockingly 1 in 8 children, or 87,000 school-aged children.
In what we think of as one of the most affluent counties in California or the country here, yeah. And
What
the other
what is one of the most affluent counties?
yeah, right.
Yes.
We had Supervisor Katrina Foley in here, and she said, "I believe the economy, from an economic standpoint, we're the 6th biggest economy in the country here, this
Yeah.
county alone." So, here's my other question that I've heard others utter, and you confirmed: is it just a shortage of food? We don't grow enough. We don't have enough, or is it there's enough food, we just don't distribute it well?
It's hard to make that case when about 40% of the food produced in this country is wasted.
Yeah.
So I often say to folks, it's not a supply problem, it's an access problem.
Yeah, yes.
And really, even beyond that, a distribution problem. It rots in the field. It expires in the dock. It doesn't make it to the pantry in time. Or if it makes it to the pantries, they don't have the ability to store it or to sort it or to do all the other things that you have to
but
do.
people also, this is our fault as consumer. We want to see showcases full. We want to see shelf
Oh, yeah.
full. And
Abundance.
by the end of the night, what happened to all that food, Because if it's made fresh every day, even bakery, same thing, And so, is there any places where grocery beside you, because you help other places like soup
Soup
kitchens,
kitchen,
right.
SOS, share ourselves, yeah. Can you distribute to them or?
So we are prepared to we are equipped, I should say, to distribute groceries and bulk packaged food and produce.
Yeah.
We are not equipped to handle prepared meals, hot meals, catered meals, but the folks that generate that type of food are also impacted by the waste law. So there are many nonprofits that do accept catered food, prepared food, and there is an effort underway to try to smooth that system out the way we've been able to do it with grocery retail.
Yeah. Hopefully we can even implement that more and more, and because we, in restaurant, sometimes we have nights that we have by accident or we prepare too much, or the weekend is coming faster, sooner than expected, and you have that food in the storage. And,
Well, Chef, I have to say, speaking for us, because one of the reasons is because this issue of waste, I think, is so unthinkable, that we have people going hungry and then we would waste food. We have almost no waste at the restaurant. We utilize literally almost everything, and the things we don't go into compost. So we really have almost zero food waste, which it would be wonderful if others could do. I know sometimes it's not possible. But going back to what Claudia was talking about this issue of prepared food, because of certain laws not being able to distribute it for people in need, that's really something that I think we need to think about, we need to
Yes, I
change,
think they need to
and
be
we need to
resolved.
figure out.
Yes.
So what, I'm not aware of that. What is the law? So if you've actually cooked it and prepared it, you
You're
can't
not-
give it out?
You're not allowed at all to give food away on the street.
So SB 1383 was passed about 5 years ago, and it compels producers of food to reduce organic waste in the landfills by 40%. Easier done with groceries than with restaurant food for obvious reasons of health and food
Yeah.
safety.
Yeah.
Good Samaritan law does protect people to give food, but the reputational damage that could come if somebody ate food that made them sick, I think, is the biggest detractor. So a system, we as a sector and we as a society need to figure out how to help restaurants donate their food in a safe manner.
Yeah. We have an organization in France, I don't know, it's called the Restaurant du Cœur. And there is a whole system, network of picking up food every evening to some restaurant that are connected. And then they go straight to the food bank. And so that's been created about 40 years ago and keep on running. So hopefully one day we can do that in this country or in California.
If we did, I think we could feed a lot of people
Yes.
with the amount of food that's
Yes.
left over at the end of the day at many restaurants.
How much do you think a typical, not your restaurant, chef always said in his restaurant, traditional French cooking like he did, he tried to reuse everything and turn it into a stock and a soup
We
and
don't
everything.
reuse. We spare. I mean, you know, if you let's say, and let's always take the example of a leek. Okay, the bottom part, the white little greenish part is the best, and then the full green, you use it for stock. But there's one part that you don't want to use. You use it for compost, and so you can do one leak goes 3 ways. You know.
But so many restaurants, you've had people come in here, and now the process is buy it pre-packaged or pre-cut or in portions.
Well,
and-
they soon have to understand the cost of buying pre-packaged and pre-cut. You know, they think they cut on labor, but actually they pay for it.
And
Right.
it's not just a cost, it's not just a financial cost, it's also the cost to our environment.
Yeah.
When we buy things like that, we're not just talking about the packaging, which has a cost to the environment,
Yeah.
but we're talking about the waste that comes from that. You know, those little tiny carrots that we buy that look so pretty in a package, they have almost zero nutritional value, and in fact, they're bad for you.
Yeah.
They've been,
They
it's a
put gas
regular
in it
carrot
for-
that's been
Talk
whittled
about the little
down.
baby
The
carrots or
The
something?
little baby
Oh
carrots.
my goodness, I buy
It's a
those all the
nor-
time.
Well,
What do I
No
know?
more, Paul.
Paul, buy normal carrots, peel them,
Peel them.
put the peel in the compost, and eat the rest. Most packaged foods that are packaged in that way are, in order for them to be safe to eat and keep, are processed with things like chlorine bleach
Ugh.
that
No nitrogen.
wreak havoc
yeah.
on your body and on your gut and on your system.
Don't they put it? They put a gas in there to keep
Yeah.
it in the bag or
Fresh,
whatever.
yeah.
Fresh, yeah.
Fresh.
But
And-
that's the way of the world because it's convenient. It's quick.
It's fresh, but you won't be once you eat it.
So
Yikes!
nothing better than buy whole lettuce, clean it yourself,
That's right.
and then use
Absolutely,
yourself
chef.
something fresh.
But it's time and effort and all those things. We just
No,
want quick and open the bag and start eating the carrots here.
It's your health.
That's
right.
Your time will come in your longer life.
That's
So
right.
that's why it's
Talk
What
about-
what can be more important than your health,
And-
Paul?
Isn't that the
and,
truth?
and
right?
yeah, and also medical saving. People get sick, so if you don't eat well, you have other thing to take care of. It's your medical bills. And most
That's
of the
right,
people that
Chef.
will need your food also have problem with health.
That's right.
So
Well, look at the rise in obesity in children today, and I look at what the schools, affluent schools, are feeding these kids for lunch. It is mostly prepackaged and pre-cut and
prepackaged, a lot of deep fry.
a lot of fried stuff. Yeah, I mean,
fried
it's
stuff,
not necessarily the best.
Processed meats.
processed
Yeah,
meat,
exactly.
yeah.
So talk about some of the other things that you do. What I found most compelling, not just the size and scope of the operation, which overwhelmed me. It's not just here's the front of the warehouse, here's the back of the warehouse. You've got this giant freezer, and you've got all this organized and system as the stuff gets in, and then volunteers break it down into smaller portions, and all this stuff that you're doing. Really, it's like a just huge, what I would picture a Ralph's or a Vaughn's logistical center to look like.
Yeah.
But what surprised me was your focus. You've touched on it already. The focus on healthy food. I don't want to offend anybody, but my assumption was most food banks collect leftover stuff, which is probably packaged and processed and about to go bad, and they pick up tons of potato chips and other things here like that. And you say you get some of that stuff. What do you do with it if you give you 87,000 bags of Takis or something here?
Well, I mean, we control what we bring in. So we can say no to things, and we try to be as prudent with what we accept to get to the good food. In terms of the refrigerator, it is almost 16,000 square feet of cold
Huge.
storage.
Yeah.
And it does, that's been a necessity for us as we pivoted to buying fresh, buying lean protein and milk and eggs and produce. It became a necessity, and when we opened the farm, it compounded that necessity. But I will point out that we've also had to deliver more cold storage, whether it's refrigerators or freezers, to our partners, because it doesn't matter if we can store it. If they can't,
Yeah, exactly.
then the whole mission goes down the drain. So there's been a very intentional effort to get cold storage into the network so that we are providing that fresh food with the utmost dignity to the people that we serve.
And you said something that maybe people don't get it yet. They think everything works with donation, but you need this funding to buy. You just say buy.
Yes.
You know, it's not everything being donated. You know, you
So
have
you're not
to
just
buy
stuck with
for
what's
it.
ever left over and they can give you.
So
Yeah,
a lot of
right.
people think that food banks run only on donations. We
Right.
do accept donations, and we get wonderful product donated to us. Don't get me wrong. We rescue grocery product. We accept product from the USDA. We grow product, as we've discussed at the farm. And yes, we will buy anywhere from $2 to $6 million, depending on how good the revenue year is. That's where we get the good food. We ensure that we have the good food if we're buying it.
Yes, wonderful.
And then Chef made a point as we were touring the facility. He said, this stuff that you were showing broccoli. For some reason, you had a ton of broccoli in there that you grew. And he said, this is probably fresher for your customers than the stuff they get at the grocery store, because that's gone to a distribution center and then sat on their back shelf for a while. It probably got to the
In the box in the back, and then store on the showcase and
Right.
on the full light. And
So you're
you
turning
have
this
no
stuff over
idea.
in like a day or two.
Food insecurity won't
Yeah.
wait. We got to get it out.
Well, that's part of all the logistic.
Yes,
You know,
exactly.
We need to get to that because you are a logistic facility, receiving, storing, inventorying, and then distributing.
Yes.
So
With trucks and delivery and
yeah.
docks. You had a dock that had a cold storage dock. I never heard of such a thing. It's a
Sure.
seal that
Seal
it
that-
pulls
yeah.
up, and then so it doesn't go from cold to warm to
It's like a
cold.
SAS when you go to the ski resort.
Yeah.
You have to go for a room before you go to the main
Exactly.
place. You know.
Right.
So, so the thing is, logistic. So a team, and they have to work on computer almost full time to keep control and put the shipment into the trucks and with all the place and stuff and things like that.
And how did you learn to do that? You said you work with big food chains that kind of give you ideas.
Yeah,
and
so
stuff?
we learn from other food banks. We learn from local retail grocers, but it's not unlike a grocery chain. So we receive product, it goes into inventory, it gets a financial value. Our folks that work with the pantries will write the orders based on the size, the number of people served, the amount of cold storage, the amount of distributions. We write those orders for our partners. We have quality control in terms of the order, but the biggest underwriting factor to how we distribute our food is equity, because there's just a limited amount of food given the size of the problem. So we have to make sure that we are distributing with proportionality to where the need is, not just the biggest pantry or the biggest truck. And that really is the magic of our team, being able to do that and reevaluate it day in and day out.
Talking about needs, all right. So, what's the graphic of a needs from 5 years ago to maybe the 5 years to come?
Is it getting better? Is it getting worse?
So I can speak to when I arrived at the food bank, we were serving about 250,000 folks a month on average through our network of pantries. When the pandemic hit, at the height of the pandemic, which for us was really July of 2020, we were serving over 650,000.
Wow.
It did go down as the pandemic ended, but when the pandemic era benefits started to be pulled back, when food inflation started to hit, we saw the needs slowly start rising again. And today we're probably at about 450,000 people on average served through our network, which is almost twice as high as it was before the pandemic, and approaching the pandemic high. So, and there are many reasons for that: the high cost of living, the high cost of housing, food, fuel. It's not easy to cover your nut here in Orange County, your basic living expenses. It costs about $100,000 for a family of four just to cover the basic expenses.
Yeah, so you're very concerned about the cost of living right now going up, and the income very kind of low or stable.
Cost of fuel alone.
Everything.
Yeah.
And so how do can you try to control that to make sure you have enough food to help the people that need that?
We constantly try to get the most food that we can, but the reality is for 369,000 people, we can't food bank our way out of this problem.
Yeah.
We simply cannot.
Yeah.
And I hate to say that, but that's the hard reality.
But you're doing an amazing job.
Thank you.
For,
Who are the people you're serving? You said there are people pull up in a Tesla sometimes or whatever. They're embarrassed to show up, but they've got it's our perception is it's unhoused people, it's homeless people, it's extremely poor people or something. But there's kids on campus coming and getting food. There's people probably in my neighborhood coming and getting food and not telling anybody that they've lost a job and they need help or whatever here.
So we serve working families, college students, public school students, seniors. That worries me.
but not to the facility.
No, we do not
Yeah.
we don't distribute directly. We work through our pantry network.
But the food ends up in
Yes. Those are the primary, the demographics that we serve. I mean, the folks in the Teslas, that really was more during the pandemic, right?
Right.
Because we learned how many of us were just 2 paychecks away from being in a food line.
Right.
Yeah.
But you do have one unique program, if I remember correctly, where you bring sort of a food, what would I call it, a little mobile pop-up grocery store to
Yes.
seniors or whatever. Talk about that.
We have a Parket Market, which is a mobile market with refrigeration and awnings that travels primarily to senior serving organizations, senior apartment complexes, senior centers, and provides fresh groceries on site. And it's wonderful because it provides those folks the ability to choose their groceries on site. But I think a nice side benefit is that it's a moment for them to socialize as they're
come out of their
they come out of their apartments, they
Right.
come out, they talk to each other, they talk about the food, they talk to our folks and volunteers. So that's a wonderful program.
I think it's important that we think about, the two main costs that we have as human beings that we need to live: shelter and food. Cost of housing, and now the cost of food. Cost of housing in Orange County in California is astronomical. Cost of food everywhere has gone up to levels that we never could have imagined before. So we sort of take for granted, I think, when we live the healthy, happy, prosperous lives that we live, that other people can do that. And there's so often, as you mentioned, Paul, people around us that we may not recognize as being in need. So the need for a place like Second Harvest Food Bank in a county like Orange County, as well as so many others, I love that we're talking about this and making people aware of that.
Absolutely.
Because if we walk around and see people dressed nicely and, you know, doing the things that we do, we may not realize that the need that they have, that their families have. So bringing awareness to this, I think, is so important. If everybody listening talks about this to 3 of their friends, who talk about this to 3 of their friends, and we do that roundup at the grocery store, and we, you know, make a small donation or make an ongoing donation,
Come
make
out
a
and work in the
monthly
farm or
donation
whatever. Yeah, right.
to Second Harvest, it changes the equation.
And being in the restaurant business, you and Tony and I, we know that even some of our employees,
Absolutely.
you know, that dishwashers, prep cooks, you know, they have income, but low income.
That's
And
right.
at the end of the month, they cry.
That's
you know,
right.
And we do our best, but so we have the conscience of that. We know the needs, and so it's very heartbreaking to know that they work very hard, but sometimes, you know, it's not enough to make a normal life.
And thank you for saying that, Chef. I think a lot of times there's this misperception that you just need to work. And if you work, you have money and everything is fine. I know plenty of people
Yeah.
who work as many hours as is possible to work within a day, and they can barely make ends meet. So we have to be aware that just working isn't going to solve the problem, and the rest of us who can give need to give
Yes.
in whatever way we can, monetarily, with our time, through raising awareness.
Talking
So-
about that, I would love if, as a team, we can connect to. I belong to a network of 40 chef restaurants in Orange County. Let's do something together.
Yes.
That would be wonderful.
love
You all
that.
pulled together when the fire was up there. You had them in. We were talking
did.
about it. Right.
We did the fire release. We sold 15,000 meals.
Wing lamb
to
from
weekend,
Yahoo
yeah.
Fish Taco Donuts, some trucks, and you guys literally
You
drove up.
you
and-
did. You did give us some food and beverages, and then so talking about that. All right. Have you imagined a disaster release? If something happened,
the
in
big earthquake comes that
Yeah.
we all fear or something here.
How
Yeah.
are you going to jump in?
So, food banks are a natural part of disaster response and recovery by the nature of the fact that we have giant stores of food and water. And that's all over the country. The food banks, the Feeding America food banks in Southern California, all carry a mutual aid agreement. So if something happens in any county, the fires in Los
You get
Angeles,
support from the-
we sent support to them. When we had the airport fire here in Orange County, I got calls from the other food banks. Do you need anything? So we are part of that response and recovery, and we coordinate with the county, with COED and VOED and all those organizations that stand on the ready. We're located in the central part of the county and have our own disaster response plan. So everybody can rest assured that we will be part of the effort, and God forbid if that ever happens.
You were talking about water, like up in Brentwood when the big fire was up there, and it wasn't necessarily just feeding people that were working on the front line, the firefighters and people without a house. Water. Suddenly there's you need water to drink. And where do you get giant pallets of water? Instantly. You've got that kind of
We've
stuff.
got that.
So, do you do fundraising events at?
We
Because
do.
you have beautiful facility to do a large event, like
They had like a
200-300
stage or
people.
something. It looks
Sure.
like you just had something there.
So,
when we
so
were
we do. We do fundraisers, and people do fundraisers for us, and we have fundraisers that are large and small. We just did the Walk to Feed OC at Tanaka Farms on April 18th,
Yeah,
which was
yeah.
attended by about 1,400 people. We do our annual No Lunch Lunch right before Thanksgiving with about 500 of our best
there. No
friends.
lunch. What is that?
No
So-
Lunch Lunch is a lunch, but unlike no other, you sit family style with your friends and supporters of the food bank. I give a short, hopefully concise state of the food bank speech, and our friend Antonio at Antonello's
yeah, was
has been donating his amazing soup for over 30 years, and you pick up your bowl and you walk over and you wait in line
Yeah.
the way people do in soup kitchens, and there's a salad and a piece of bread, and I've had people say, I hope there's leftovers. And I said, well, that's a common feeling among people. So it's a great way to break bread and understand the problem in a very kind of somatic way, and also hear about what's going on at the food bank, and yes, raise money for the food bank.
Yeah, and then I've seen Antonio, I've seen Bill Bracken, a new facility, and all these charitable entrepreneurs. You know, it's amazing. You have a fantastic network, and now I've seen you, so good for you.
Thank you. And Tony is very enthusiastic about being involved. He's now doing monthly recipes for the
Oh yeah, I was going
newsletter.
to ask you, what's the next recipe?
Yeah, well, I don't know, chef. He doesn't share that sort of top secret
It's
information.
top
Okay.
secret.
Yes,
Alright.
you have to wait
We
and
get it
the
delivered
newsletter.
in a briefcase by PricewaterhouseCoopers every month at the food bank.
Is that still the fight between the back and the front of the house? And you won't know until.
The front of the
No,
house never
no.
knows what the back of the house is
we,
doing.
we tried to be one house and
Yeah.
all work toward the same goal.
Good.
Yes,
Wonderful.
absolutely. But
Well, I want to applaud you for taking this stance, because when I first heard this, that a Michelin starred restaurant is on the board of a food bank, I thought, that seems odd. That seems a contradiction. One is serving the affluent, one is serving the needy here. But it's serving, it's feeding.
Actually,
and
it does help to try to get the balance.
Yes, right.
On one side or the other, we can kind of have it in the middle, and then we will be all fine if we all do that.
and you know, chef, I think you can attest to this. Restaurant people want to feed people. So yes, we're serving a certain type of food in a certain environment at a certain price level. But our hearts are about
We're all
taking
that.
care of people.
We
We're
all
all
have
that
in
way.
common. Please, feeding and give people enjoyable life, and then because nobody should go home in the bed with an empty stomach.
That's right.
Let's give a plug to Knife Pleat. I was looking online. Don't you have something coming up at the South Coast Repertory or something too? Some event here?
We've thank you. Yes, we've been South Coast Repertory has a play called Eat Me.
Right, exactly.
That is the run is about to end, and so it's about
It's an original play, I think, right?
it isn't it's the yes it is the premiere that's taking place, and you know, since we're neighbors, the topic of the play is about something called gourmand syndrome, which one of the characters has. So he becomes obsessed with gourmet food, and so patrons have the ability to come eat at Knife Pleat and then go see the play, and there's quite a synergy there.
I think that's a
about that.
wonderful idea.
Yes,
I would love to
thank
see
you.
that.
Can we take it to go on watch it?
eat it in the lobby or something. No,
We don't recommend taking our food to go.
know.
We want
I
to
know.
serve it to you
The chef won't
ourselves.
like that.
I won't tell Tony you said that.
I'm sorry, Tony.
so is this a are you leading the way? Are other, I don't know what other fine dining restaurants, you've had big other restaurateurs and stuff here in big facilities. You had Ben Martinick in, the executive chef for the Pendry Hotel, other things. I'm not saying that they don't want to, but do they know how to participate and get involved in
Oh yes,
food
a
banks?
lot of people who go to the event at Tanaka Farm. A lot of my friends are part of it and volunteer and give free food and they love it. They love to do. A chef loves to do that. Like you
Absolutely.
just said, we love to please, and
Absolutely.
our passionate chef. It's not about just making money or running a business. They have to, but
I can attest to that.
It's not just about making money.
no, you work for food.
Yeah.
Sometimes we work for free.
Yeah.
For free. Yeah. So, can you give us some information how the public can help?
Sure. So the easiest way is to go to our website, www.feeddoc.org. There you can learn more about the issue. You can sign up to take a community tour. You can learn when and where you can volunteer.
Yeah.
And very importantly, you can donate money. So that would be the best way I would tell folks to get
And
involved.
I'm going to say, I told you this afterwards. You said, come and take a tour. And I thought, I don't have to see a tour. It's just a warehouse. There's the front, there's the back. What do you see? It was fascinating because you really talk about, you see what a sophisticated, large operation this is, how complex it is. And then you have throughout panels on the wall that kind of talk about the mission and who you help. And that's where we learned about some of these other programs, going to the senior centers and the kinds of pantries, even on campuses here. None of that I knew until I went there.
I've seen something now. There was not too many volunteers when we toured, but whoever was there, they thank you, they smile at you, you have a connection like you are a family.
Yes.
That's the way it works there?
It is, if you think a volunteer is giving the most precious resource. We love our financial donors, but time is something, once you give it, you'll never get it back. So there is a special relationship with our volunteers, and I will remind everyone, our board members are volunteers. So they're doing this out of the goodness of their heart. I often kid them that I'm going to give them a raise, twice what they're currently getting paid. So yes, there is a special relationship with volunteers, very much so.
I could tell that.
Yeah.
And running a restaurant has got to be the most time-intensive thing, a business you could run. You don't just get to leave at 5 o'clock and go home, right?
No, it's also mostly volunteer work. So I was primed for this. Yes, but it certainly is. But we care, restaurant people, because of one of the reasons is what you said. It takes up so much time and energy. Unless you are absolutely passionate about it and it's just in your bones and your blood, it's not something you're going to do for very long.
Not for the faint-hearted.
So yes,
right.
we love what we do, but I think no matter what you do, if you take time to give of yourself to a food bank or whatever organization moves you, touches your heart, is important to you, it is life-changing. It truly is life-changing. We can all work for money. That's fantastic, and we need to. But giving of yourself when you're not getting a monetary return is something else. That feeds your soul. And that, in our case, feeds our community. So please, if you have time, give it. If you don't, give what you can monetarily, and no amount is too small. I think sometimes people think, oh, well, I only have $5. Give $5. That makes a huge difference. If you skip going out for coffee 2 days a week and make your coffee at home and give that, it makes a difference. It feeds somebody. And think about what that means. Think about going to bed hungry one night.
And this is probably too small for what you guys do, but do you accept just walk in, somebody walks up with a box like they do at my church and leave a box of food or something? You probably don't want that.
We don't recommend that. Since you've seen the scope of the building and the scale, small donations, while very appreciated, the place for those is really directly to a pantry, and we often will counsel donors when they bring 12 jars of peanut butter or a case of soup, we will send them to the nearest pantry to make sure that their donation gets in the hands of the folks that they intended for. So that's really what we try to do.
Well, it certainly has fed my soul to see the facility and to see people doing good work, and it makes me think twice of, do I do enough to contribute to the health of others in the community?
We don't do enough.
I don't think so. Because I'll end with this. I think it's an invisible problem for most of us.
That's right.
Just like homeless or unhoused or whatever term you want to use, we don't see it until it affects us.
And we need to actually, talking to you, because we have your marketing manager.
She's making sure
And
we stay on
Sarah.
message here.
And do you have any plan how we can help to constantly remind people that? Because today we talk about it, but tomorrow
We forget about it.
We move on. And so how can we
Stay engaged. How can
keep
we
people
keep the
aware?
conversation? I think they need to do a podcast on it. I think that's what they do. I told them that before, but or whatever. I think you need to capture. You need to
monthly
conversation.
awareness discussion.
We do have electronic communication on a regular basis. You can sign up for that on our website. We have very active social media, so you can follow us on social media and you can repost our posts, if they move you, share them with your own network. So we are out there jumping up and down, spreading the word for sure. But we need the help through things like this podcast. So we really appreciate it.
And I don't think we talk about it. You have an event coming up, fundraising event, or when
Our
is the
next
one?
fundraising, our next official fundraising event is in November. Is No Lunch in November. But if you come to our website and one pops up sooner than that, that's the best way to keep abreast
Wonderful.
of what's happening.
So one more
Thank
time,
you.
the website is
www.feedoc.org.
that's a mouthful. Okay, we'll have to put that in. And let's plug Knife Pleat here.
I was going to say, I'm sorry we didn't have Chef Tony here because I'm sure he has to work. No?
He'd
So
be happy to come back,
it's not
Chef.
easy
We'd
to,
love to have him
it's
come
not
back and
easy
talk
to
more
get a
about.
chef out of his kitchen, you know.
We can get him out for a conversation with you. He would be delighted.
One of the things I'd love to talk about in a future show, should we set that up, is what Bill Bracken talked about when he came in here, which is here's a guy that was an executive chef at the Four Seasons, I believe, up in Beverly Hills. And all of a sudden starts this charity and thinks, well, I'm going to collect the food from my friends. I'm going to get lobster. I'm going to get filet mignon. I'm going to get good food and give it to people who need food. And they turned their nose up at it and said, what's this? I've never tasted this before. Yuck, can't you just get me some, mac and cheese or something here? And so there's a challenge to get people to eat better if they've never had any
on that
better.
note,
Yeah.
when we prepare the food for bring food to Los Angeles,
Right, to the fires, right?
People ask me, why you take so much pride of what you're just cooking 200 pounds of
Tacos or something.
tomato sauce.
Right,
And
right.
I said, I want to make sure if they eat something good,
Right.
that they feel even better. Because I will not give away food that is not tasty or not
Exactly.
pleasant
And good for them, right?
for them.
Food is such a basic human experience. I hope that everyone that gets food from our network, when they sit down to have a meal with their family, that they experience what I experience when I eat at Knife Pleat.
Yeah.
We all deserve that experience to enjoy food that is appropriate for us, culturally appropriate, what we want, when we want it. And so that is a
that you
North Star
enjoy.
for us.
Yeah, that you enjoy.
And
and
let's
wanna
do
have
that
more of it.
also so families can have their Sunday night meal too.
So let's plug. How do we? I immediately want to go try Knife Pleat now. If for no other reason than I want to support what you're doing here.
Thank you.
So how do we find you? You're in South
So
Coast Plaza.
we're
huh?
in South Coast Plaza. We're in the penthouse of South Coast Plaza.
the penthouse, of
next-
course. You got to be in the penthouse.
That's next to Nordstrom, and we are a fine dining Michelin starred restaurant, but we are very approachable. We are not elitist at all. We love to have everyone. We have wonderful cocktails that you can have if
Ooh,
that's
there
all
you
you'd
go.
like, both non-alcoholic and alcoholic.
Yeah, the mocktails. You got to have those today. Here.
You can order things a la carte at the bar. You can have a full lunch. You can have a full dinner, or just come by and say hello and visit us.
And it's a beautiful setting. It's relaxing. It's
I've never been there. I'm sorry to say. Is it small? Is it large? Is it
it's medium size.
medium size? Okay.
Yeah, and you have a patio too.
Oh,
Yes,
there
we
you go.
do.
Good.
We
Well,
do.
for no other reason than to support you, I would love to try Michelin-starred food. That's even a little out of my pay grade here, but I would love to see that and experience it. And the food that you have, is it traditional French food like Chef did, or is it more?
It is not. It's definitely French. We do sometimes use other influences, but Tony is classically French trained, but it's contemporary
There you
French.
go.
It is not old-fashioned, saucy, buttery, rich, heavy, meaty. Our focus is on vegetables and seafood to a certain extent, but it's very light. Everything is prepared in a light way. We use more olive oil than butter.
Love it. You're talking my
so
language.
Even the
Yeah.
pastries are light. but
Even the
so
pastries
good.
are light
Oh,
So
and
good.
not very sweet.
Yeah.
I love
we
it.
we really do think about health when we prepare our food. We buy organic products, and we prepare it in a way. We want you to feel good when you leave
Yeah.
and the next day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Right. Exactly.
Wonderful.
All right. Well, I feel
Thank
good just
you.
hearing all this. Thank you so much for coming in. It's an amazing story, and I hope we can continue the story to Chef's Point so we don't just feel good for the day and forget about it tomorrow here.
I will remind you.
All right. We'll come back again.
Thank you
and
for
do it
having
again.
us.
Thank
Thanks
you
so
very
much.
much, Steph.
You're welcome.
Thank you both.
Wow. Well, there's a great example of why you got to tune in to hear what's behind the kitchen door. A lot more than you think. Food, nutrition, providing the best of everything to everybody, not just the few. Thank you so much for joining us here today on Orange County's only community radio station, where we have this conversation every week behind the kitchen doors, right here at UCI's Beal Applied Innovation Center.